There's a quiet shame that follows people who grow up being labeled as not good enough. Not dramatic failure, not public humiliation, but the constant, subtle reminder that others are ahead, smarter, faster, more gifted. I carried that label for years. I was not the talented one. I was not the natural. I was the one who struggled to keep up, who needed more time, more repetition, more effort just to reach average. And slowly, that comparison carved an identity I did not choose. Being the worst in the class does something to the mind. It teaches you early that effort does not always equal results. That no matter how hard you try, someone else will always do it better with less work. This belief sinks deep. It shapes how you see yourself long before you have the maturity to question it. Over time, the mind adapts to protect itself. You stop trying fully, you hide behind excuses, you pretend not to care. It hurts less that way. Talent is praised loudly, discipline is invisible. Schools reward speed, not consistency. Natural ability, not resilience. And when you are surrounded by people who seem effortlessly good, you start to believe that success is reserved for a specific type of person, and you are not one of them. That belief followed me everywhere, in studies, in work, in life. I carried the quiet assumption that I would always be behind, that I needed luck to compensate for what I lacked, that my ceiling was fixed. This is how scarcity mindset forms. Not from lack of resources, but from repeated emotional evidence that you are inferior. The brain internalizes these experiences. Neuroscience shows that repeated comparison and perceived failure strengthen neural pathways associated with avoidance and self-doubt. The mind learns to expect disappointment. Motivation decreases not because you are incapable, but because the brain is trying to protect you from more emotional pain. For a long time, I believed discipline was for people who were already strong, already confident, already successful. I thought discipline required motivation, and motivation only belonged to the talented. I was wrong. The breaking point came quietly. Not in a classroom, not in public failure, but alone. I realized that talent had given others a head start, but discipline was a skill. And skills can be trained. Talent is fixed. Discipline compounds. That realization did not feel empowering at first. It felt heavy. Because if discipline mattered more than talent, then my lack of progress was no longer fate. It was responsibility. And responsibility is uncomfortable when you have lived behind excuses. Discipline does not begin with intensity. It begins with humility. Accepting that you are not special, not gifted, not ahead, and choosing to work anyway. Choosing repetition when others rely on ease. Choosing structure when others depend on mood. I started small, painfully small. Showing up when no one noticed. Practicing fundamentals when others chase shortcuts. The ego hates this phase. There is no applause, no validation, just slow, almost invisible progress. But the brain responds to consistency. Each completed task, no matter how small, rebuilds self-trust. Dopamine begins to associate effort with reward again. The nervous system stabilizes. Anxiety decreases. Focus improves. Discipline rewires the brain. While talent creates spikes of performance, discipline creates a baseline. And baseline is what builds careers, bodies, identities, and lives. I watched people who once outperformed me slowly fall behind. Not because they lost talent, but because they never learned to work without it. When things stopped being easy, they stopped trying. I had already learned how to endure boredom, frustration, and slowness. That became my advantage. Halfway through this transformation, it became clear that discipline is not sustained by willpower alone. There are guidance materials that help people understand identity-based discipline, break self-sabotage patterns, and build consistency. The links are in the description. Discipline reshaped my body before it reshaped my results. Regular movement, simpler nutrition, sleep routines. These were not about aesthetics. They were about teaching the mind that structure equals safety. A regulated body supports a focused mind. Spiritually, discipline taught me patience. Prayer, silence, and stillness grounded me when comparison tried to pull me back into old identities. I learned that growth does not need to be allowed to be real, that progress does not need to witnesses. The greatest shift was internal. I stopped asking if I was good enough. I started asking if I was consistent enough. That question changes everything. Consistency is within your control. Talent is not. Over time, the identity changed. I was no longer the worst. I was the one who showed up. The one who did the work even when it felt pointless. That identity created calm confidence, not arrogance, not superiority, but self-respect. Discipline did not make me special. It made me reliable. And reliability beats talent when talent gets tired. If you were the worst in the class, understand this. That label does not define your future. It may have delayed your confidence, but it also trained you to survive discomfort, and that skill is rare. Talent shines early, discipline shines last. Throughout this journey, clarity grew through ebooks that strengthened discipline, dismantled limiting beliefs, and helped rebuild identity from the inside out. If you feel ready for that step, the links are in the description. Do not envy those who start ahead. Envy fades. Discipline compounds. And compounding effort builds lives that talent alone cannot sustain. When the mind changes, the body responds. When the body aligns, life transforms. Like the video. Subscribe to the Mind Forge and keep forging your mind, especially when no one is watching.